Hey everybody, I just wanted to say right away, this video is in no way meant to disparage anyone in either the MGTOW community or the incel community, with one exception, which will be described later on in the video. Because frankly, unethical people in general don't deserve respect. Now, let's start with the differences between red pill and blue pill. The red pill and its opposite, the blue pill, are a popular cultural meme, a metaphor representing the choice between the red pill, knowledge, freedom, uncertainty, and the brutal truths of reality. Now, the blue pill is security, happiness, beauty, and the blissful ignorance of illusion. So, really, the red pill is the brutal, often bitter truth, whereas the blue pill is the comfortable lie. Now, let's talk about the differences between incels and MGTOW, or men going their own way. An incel is a person who is not sexually active despite desiring to be. And sometimes the incel is a member of a mostly online subculture, typically of misogynistic straight men, who define themselves by being unable to find a sexual relationship despite desiring one. Whereas, on the other hand, MGTOW, men going their own way, is a way of life which refuses to defer to women in defining the worth of men. Instead, it focuses on positive male aspects, inviting men to go their own way in life. The concise definition of men going their own way, MGTOW. Men going their own way, MGTOW, refers to men committed to self-determination, referring to oneself as a man going his own way. In other words, MGHOW, is a statement of self-ownership and a declaration that a man has the supreme right to decide what his goals in life will be, as opposed to having his goals dictated by others who, in preference to self-determination, prescribe utility-based rules for males entailing servitude to women and to society. So the main difference is that incels desperately want sexual intercourse with a woman and are frustrated they can't, whereas a MGTOW man never defines his worth by a female's measure. That said, another important point to make is that incels often become frustrated by their inability to be sexually active with a woman, that they become so hateful that they no longer want a woman's companionship. They want women to be their slaves. Now, why is this important? It's because when I first joined TFM on the TFM show, and for at least 6 months thereafter, TFM's position was pretty much the same as what I just read. In fact, he used to call out incels for focusing their life around women rather than living for themselves. Unfortunately, at some point, TFM changed. Instead of being the voice of MGTOW wisdom and male mentorship, he morphed into the incel whisperer. What do I mean by that? I mean that he changed gears and started saying that incels were MGTOW, even though, to use TFM's own words, the verifiable facts and the observable reality clearly demonstrate that incels were not MGTOW. Now, I understand his point. He wants to help men, even incel men, and this is commendable. However, incels will stay blue-pilled until they start living for themselves, free from female validation, rather than continuing to desperately whine about not being able to get laid. When I first joined the TFM show, TFM used to always say that rights should be equal to responsibility. Now, I thought long and hard on this, no pun intended, and eventually I came to the same conclusion. Here's my reasoning. If you're an employee at a job, your job description and experience earn you a certain amount of money, and you have certain responsibilities based on these things. Further, based on your experience and job description, you get a certain amount of privileges in return. Now, if you're the manager at that same job, you get more money. Well, why? Because as a manager, you have far greater responsibilities generally than the rank and file workers. But you also get more privileges, because with greater risk comes greater reward. This should also be true of legal rights. The more responsibilities a citizen is willing to take on, the more rights they should have. For example, if a person is collecting welfare they should not be allowed to vote. If a person is a net taxpayer, they should be allowed to vote because they have skin in the game, whereas the welfare recipient will just vote for more free stuff paid for by someone else, eventually bankrupting the system. So when it comes to legal rights, to me, they should be equal to responsibilities. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, viewers should know this is not my view. This was TFM's view, and I adopted it because it makes perfect sense. But the operative term here is the word was. Today, TFM has a single prescription for every problem in the world. Do you have diarrhea? Are you an incel who can't get laid? Do you refuse to stay in shape at a healthy weight because you liked processed high-calorie food? Well, there's a solution for all of that and more. According to TFM, just take women's rights away, and your diarrhea will stop. All your male insecurities will magically go away. Honest and stuff. Yeah. Now, let me explain why this, at best, is a blue pill incel's dream. Cucked men put women into power. Now, what does this mean? It means that men will not vote to take women's voting rights away, or any other rights for that matter, because most men cuck to women. TFM understands this. Now, he's been asked many times how to take women's rights away, and he always responds with something about how do the jihadis do it? Well, let me answer that. They do it by physical force, kidnapping, violence, and intimate assault. Basically, what TFM is saying, very passively aggressively I might add, whether he realizes it or not, is that to take women's rights away, men need to physically force women into slavery, which, by the way, is exactly what incels have advocated for years. Now, to TFM's credit, he admits that this is not a MGTOW concept or philosophy, and he's absolutely correct. But here's the rub. Not only is this not a MGTOW concept, it's not even red-pilled. It's an incel blue pill dream. Because in effect, he's calling for a gender war, whether he realizes it or not. And consequently, the incels love it. Now, he says he's doing this to save society, to help men. But in reality, is that the case? You see, TFM used to work to save men's lives. His words and later his friendship helped me along my MGTOW path. In a variety of ways, he helped me promote my book, he helped me get my channel started, he even gave me my first platform on YouTube. And here's the thing, my life isn't the only one TFM has changed for the better. I've seen many dozens of comments, both in his YouTube comments section and later while co-hosting his show, from men thanking TFM for saving their lives. And he deserved every word of thanks that he's received, and he's received many. But advocating gender war and taking women's rights away is not only not MGTOW, it's not red pill. It's just an incel pipe dream. Now, walk with me on a short thought experiment, and let's carry the whole take women's rights away theory to its potentially logical conclusion. A bunch of incels take TFM's jihadi advice. They arm themselves, and they start forcibly taking women's rights away. Well, you know what? Other men will oppose them. And both groups of men, those men who defend women and the incels, will get hurt, and some will die. This clearly proves this theory does not only not benefit men, it doesn't benefit them either individually or as a group. The TFM I once knew would never send red-pilled men or MGTOW men on such a blue pill fool's errand because he understood that it would most likely destroy men's lives rather than save them. The TFM I once knew, the man who I will always deeply admire and consider my friend, would tell men to walk away from any blue-pilled idiot who told anyone to sacrifice their lives for sexual access to women, whether through marriage or attempts to enslave women by taking their rights away. The TFM I used to know would call out that guy for the blue-pilled cuck he was and shame him as ruthlessly as he could. Why? It's pretty simple. Because MGTOW men live for themselves, not for female validation. Taking women's rights away is in reality seeking female validation through force. The man I once knew didn't care about subscriber counts, viewer counts, online income, or any other external validation because he knew who he was on the inside. And for this, TFM was respected by many, and rightfully so. These are extremely basic MGTOW concepts that TFM once embodied, but somewhere along the line, he lost his way. Now, I don't know whether TFM still considers me a friend. Lately, he's not treated me as the friends I thought we were. Regardless, he is my friend, and I won't abandon him without making one final effort to remind him of the red-pilled man he once was, the man he could be again. This video is that effort. A long time ago, TFM told me that one day I might have to abandon him because he thought his content might harm my books or my brand. I told him then that I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks because I didn't write my book to make money or to get popular. I did it to help men. And I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks now. But in addition to that, no one, and I mean no one, chooses my friends for me. And I said, TFM, you are my friend, and I will stand by you as long as you are willing to stand with me, and anyone who tries to come between us will have hell to pay. Now, granted, I was probably drunk when I said it, but I meant those words as much then as I mean those words today. And as a side note, trust me when I say I drank a lot back then, so yeah, I was probably drunk. As every red-pilled man knows, sometimes you gotta gut check your friends. You gotta create a come-to-Jesus moment. In other words, as a friend, sometimes you have to save a man from himself. But you'll only be successful if the man is strong enough to accept your help. Right now, TFM needs help. But honestly, I'm not sure if he's strong enough to accept it. Let me explain my position in more detail. Let's talk about cars, trucks, boats, and guns. In other words, material possessions. You see, when you buy a car that you like, you take care of it. When you buy a boat, you name it. When you buy a gun, you customize it, you clean it. No matter what you own, you use it. And if you care about it, you spend time and money maintaining it, upgrading it. And if you keep the particular possession long enough, you develop memories and nostalgia that is associated with it. You develop feelings for it. It's the pride of ownership for a valued item that is part of your life. For example, a friend once told me about his car. He drove that car to his father's funeral. Not only that, but that particular car was the part of many other life-changing events in my friend's life. It became a part of his life story. So even though that car is now old and worn, he loves that car. Not because it's living, but because it's been such an intimate part of his life for so long. But he understands it is a car, it's not a person. Now, why is this important? It's because of Celestina, TFM's doll. Now, I completely and unabashedly support the dollhouse and its products. I also have a deep respect for Phil, the owner, and I consider him a friend. But Phil sells dolls, inanimate objects, not relationships. These dolls are tools of adult gratification. They aren't people, even though they look like them. Yet, with TFM's doll Celestina, he attempts to have an emotional relationship with it like humans do with each other. He's even gone so far as to get an AI app for it so he can pretend he's talking to his girlfriend, who is an inanimate object. This is not a joke. This is a real thing. TFM has admitted this and talked about it in great detail over many videos and live streams. Not only has he created a YouTube channel for his doll, where he gets her to pretend she's talking, she has an Instagram, and he also has an AI app for his phone so he can try to develop and pretend human-like relationship with her. She's a doll. It's so bad that when I had to move on from co-hosting the TFM show and the 420 show due to scheduling issues, TFM still considered his doll as his other co-host. He even publicly says he feels protective of his doll, in the same way mainstream men are protective of women. And if that wasn't enough, TFM's socially isolated. There have been numerous studies on the psychological dangers of prisoners living in solitary confinement and of humans without social connections. They die sooner, typically of loneliness. Men who live like this are at far greater risk of suicide. This is why I created the video, Don't Socially Isolate Yourself, because men who do this, men like TFM, need social connections or they will prematurely die. Humans are social animals, and one can be MGTOW and still have friends and associates in real life. TFM has said many times he has no friends, and he goes online because he's lonely and he wants human interaction. He said this is the reason he created his channel in the first place. This extreme social isolation, when combined with his psychologically unhealthy relationship with his doll, which he's rebranded his girlfriend, is extremely disturbing. Now, let's switch gears. Let's talk about the TFM I used to know and his position on doxing. In TFM's Discord, TFM has rules against doxing. In fact, when I was accused of doxing, he had Kat investigate me to ensure I wasn't a doxer. Now, Kat was in a unique position to do this because Kat was good friends with Zeph, one of the people who actually wrongfully recorded others who were accused of doxing, and he got Zeph to admit that those I was associated with were not doxers, which in the process cleared my name. Interestingly, when Zeph created these audio recordings, he was, by definition, doxing the private information of others. And for the record, Zeph's a cuck. A legit cuck. People even made meme videos about it, okay? Now, I'm not saying Kat's a cuck for being good friends with a cuck, but you gotta wonder. He did say on a live stream that he likes to squeeze the sack during a tea bag, and he even threatened to take both me and TFM anally multiple times. So there's that. But I digress. We were discussing doxing, not Kat's sexual fetishes or fantasies. Now, a few months ago, I started planning and developing an intentional community very, very quietly. From others I spoke to, apparently there was someone else who was also planning an intentional community. It was one of TFM's Discord mods, Broccoli. Well, I met Broccoli in person, as well as another mod, Plumber. Now, at the time, I didn't know either of their names, and to my knowledge, neither knows mine. But we did physically meet, and we did talk about intentional community face to face. But this is important to note. We never shared our real names with each other. Now, I should also say that there are some who know my identity, but with the exception of very few people I trust, everyone has signed an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. So Broccoli and I met with two landowners interested in intentional community. He wanted to use their land, but here's the kicker. He wanted their land for free, and I know because I was there. Now let me clarify. He wanted everyone else but him to pay for the land, and he just wanted ownership rights, unearned, from day one. And here's the thing. He also wanted the ability to strip the original owner of their ownership interest in the property they paid for, if he could get the rest of the hypothetical intentional community to vote them out. In other words, he wanted the ability to defraud landowners of their property. Both the landowners and myself told him in detail how retarded and unethical this is. One of those landowners is the TFM mod named Plumber. Now, you should also know that, like myself, Plumber has received death threats. One of those people who threatened him even made a video of that threat, which has since been taken down. Now, once Broccoli realized Plumber wasn't going to turn his property over to him for free, Broccoli became furious and they parted ways. But in the meantime, Broccoli had a Discord server and directed members of that server to start recording every time Plumber and I said something in TFM's Discord server. While I know that there are copies of chat logs I have made in Monkey Business saved to a secret channel on Broccoli's server, and I know this because I have very well-placed informants, I'm also deeply concerned that Broccoli has recorded or directed the recording of audio of both Plumber and myself as well. Why is this important? It's because one of Broccoli's Discord members, Iron Man, at the direction of Broccoli, made an audio recording about 40 minutes long, defaming Plumber and doxing his name. In fact, this recording was made exclusively as evidence against Plumber in case someone decided to sue him. Now, I get that this drama is irrelevant to most people, but I do have a point. Broccoli is a mod on TFM's server. He and Iron Man got together and made a doxing tape together, doxing Plumber's name, and then Broccoli shared that audio with me, and I've confirmed that that audio has been shared with others. But before that time, I had no clue what Plumber's real name actually was, nor did I ask. To my knowledge, Plumber still doesn't know my real name. Now, here's a clip of that audio created by Broccoli and Iron Man.
Does it work?
Yes.
Good. Is it working now?
It is working perfectly for the first time in a long time. So,
all right. I would like to say that my name is also known as Iron Man on Discord.
All right.
Okay. And I'm speaking to Broccoli?
Yes.
Good.
A few moments later.
Plumber, who also has the name of and basically, yes, I just doxed him and
Okay, so I shared this information with TFM, and instead of kicking Broccoli, who is a doxer and a mod, from his Discord, he circled the wagons around Broccoli and protected him. In response, I was removed as a mod from TFM's Discord, and I had my personal channel removed from TFM's server. The TFM I used to know would never tolerate a doxer and a con man like Broccoli. And he used to be able to sniff out con men like Broccoli only after a brief conversation with them. But the TFM of today is so blue-pilled, he no longer has that ability. He adamantly refuses to see the verifiable facts and the observable realities in front of his face. Let me clarify and reiterate one more time. TFM has rules against doxers. He has publicly spoken out against doxers, but he has a confirmed doxer as a mod in his Discord server, and he goes out of his way to protect this doxer, like a cuck. Now, let's switch gears again, and let's discuss another TFM rule, his 51% rule. Basically, TFM's 51% rule is this. If he supports 51% of a person's positions on issues, then he supports that person completely, with, of course, some reasonably minded exceptions. But a few months ago, like he's done with his other rules, he violated this one too. TFM used to have a Gab account, but then he rage quit because Gab refused to support lolicon. Lolly, by the way, is another word for child porn, which is illegal in most of the first world. Now, the difference between lolly and traditional child porn is that lolly is the anime version of it. Here's his post on it. I've deleted my Gab account. Gab doesn't stand for free speech. I don't like lolicon, just as I don't like racism. However, I tolerate both because they're legal and protected free speech. I regret ever promoting Gab and giving them money. You broke my heart. Now, here's what the founder of Gab said, which upset TFM and other people who promote lolicon. Real simple. We don't welcome that garbage here. Take it to Mastodon if you want to share cartoons depicting the abuse, nudity, and sexual fetishization of children, which is illegal in many countries. Debate the legal gray area in the US all you want, but according to us, 18 USC 1466A is pretty clear, and I think 99% of people would agree with us. Lolly is cancer and demonic. Now, here is the statute. Now, I'm not going to read the entire thing, but let me tell you something. Visual images, even in anime, under this statute, are a federal crime. But here's the important takeaway. If you go down here to the bottom, non-required element of the offense. It is not a required element of any offense under this section that the minor depicted actually exist. So even if this is a character that was made up, it's still a crime. So not only is TFM wrong on this, he is, to use his own words, 180 degrees from right on this issue. Now, the TFM I used to know would actually do some homework before he spouted off about things he was ignorant of. He would have also continued to support Gab because of his 51% rule. The TFM of today has become so blue-pilled that he can't understand this. And so we're clear, when TFM was called out on his position on Lolicon by Tom Penoid, I discovered it while the stream was happening, and I immediately reached out to TFM to educate him on this, and I was ignored. The TFM I used to know would never ignore or dismiss a friend, especially if that friend was someone like me, who is not only well-intentioned, but has always given TFM my 100% enthusiastic support. And, as everyone knows, any enemy of TFM became an instant enemy of mine. My videos opposing enemies of TFM have ended YouTube careers, one of which was formerly the largest MGTOW YouTuber on the internet, MGTARD101. My videos took so many scalps that a close friend of mine made me a video meme creating a wall of dead potatoes using footage from the movie 300. Now, I know I've covered a lot of subjects, and I think I need to clarify some of them a bit. I oppose incels, and being an incel and being MGTOW are mutually exclusive, and the only thing that separates them is the mindset. Incels focus on hating women because they can't get laid. MGTOW ignore female validation and live for themselves. When incels wake up and start living for themselves instead of focusing their lives on women, they cease being incels. Even if someone else calls them that, because you see, MGTOW ignore shaming language and ad hom attacks, but they never ignore verifiable concerns. Regarding dolls, I need to reiterate, I entirely support dolls for men. Women have had toys for a long time. Men should have them also. While I understand that if you own an item long enough, you will develop an emotional bond with it. Because there's history, there's pride of ownership. But no mentally stable person gets an AI app for their favorite AR-15 rifle so they can have conversations with it. I mean, can you imagine telling your AR-15 rifle through an app, "Hey baby, I'm going to rub your stock when I get home, and I'm going to stuff you full of bullets"? Well, no, because it's as retarded as it sounds, and it's just as psychologically unhealthy. Which brings me to my next issue. I made the video, "Don't Socially Isolate Yourself," specifically for TFM and a few other MGTOW that I saw were socially isolating, and I saw the damage it was causing. Humans are social animals. Isolation is not only psychologically unhealthy, it kills. Now, let's talk about taking women's rights away. The blue pill incel dream. Let me start by saying this. If you're watching this video and you're a guy and you don't have a job and you've never had any achievement in your life and you're not a net taxpayer, your rights are not more important than a female nurse or other professional who pays her taxes and has a career, because you have not demonstrated as much responsibility as the female professional who earned her position in life. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not talking about women who achieve their position through feminist supremacy and financing. I'm talking about women who earn their position themselves. Rights should be equal to responsibilities, not based on biological gender, period. Further, if people really want to bring balance back to our voting system, then two things are needed in my opinion. First, I advocate for a national voting ID that verifies citizenship. Since voting is a federal constitutional right, there should be a federal ID for it. No ID, no vote. It's that simple. Now, this is not to replace the driver's license. It's in addition to it. The system we have now is broken, and it allows too many non-citizens to illegally vote. We've seen this all across the media, and I've done numerous videos about it. This federal ID can also be used as a gun license as well, which will stop left-wing states from attempting to circumvent our Second Amendment constitutional right to bear arms. Secondly, make Election Day a federal holiday. This will drastically raise voter turnout, especially among men, because right now, men often can't take the time off of work to vote, which is the main reason women vote more often than men. Now, before anybody gets all dramacidal and thinks that this video is starting beef with TFM, it's not. This is a video effort from one friend to another to get TFM to use his own words to fix his shit. As a friend, I'm asking TFM to consider the following things. 1. Stop preaching blue-pilled incel strategies like enslaving women through taking their rights away. This will not only not fix the problem, it will hurt many innocent men in the process. MGTOW don't care what women do, because MGTOW don't need female validation. They care about helping men. Maybe you should remember that and start doing it. 2. Stop socially isolating. Learn to trust your friends and rebuild social connections around you, or your mental health issues will get worse. I know you like to use the Batman analogy, but even Batman had trusted friends around him who knew who he was. And thank God he did, because there were many times he needed their help, and had he not had close friends who knew who he was, he would have died many times over. You are no different, and you need friends just like the rest of us. And 3, recommit to your rules. They are good rules, and they are rules that saved many men's lives. Return to them. This includes opposing confirmed doxers and con men like Broccoli and the manipulated cucks who support him. And 4, stop misinforming people that lolicon, otherwise known as anime child porn, is legal. It's not. Misinforming men on this is setting your followers up to violate federal law, which doesn't help men, it hurts them. Now, I always say, the relationship is over when the investment stops, not when people part ways. This includes our friendship. I didn't walk away from you, TFM. You distance yourself from me. You're like Theoden from Lord of the Rings, and you've surrounded yourself with manipulative Grima worm tongues, and now you're only a shadow of the man that you used to be. I'm still invested in our friendship, but it's clear you aren't. Unless you recommit to being the red-pilled man you once were and abandon these blue-pill cuck behaviors that you've integrated into your content and into your life, there is no friendship for us to have. Because the man I once knew and deeply admired enough to call friend no longer exists. And TFM, you should know this. When that man returns, let me know. My door is always open because I never abandon my friends. I'm DDJ, and this is today's dose of Red Pill Medicine from one friend to another.